The Arab Sugar Daddy and the Beautiful Indian Girl, a novel by Dr. Ahmed. This is a one-sided love story between a rich old Saudi man and a beautiful poor Indian girl. It has been written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. Ahmed. It is an intriguing, epic romantic tale narrated in 6 books. Book 1. The Arab Sugar Daddy falls in love with a beautiful Indian girl. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from the review for printing in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people living or dead is purely coincidental. Chapter 26. The Tragedy of the Family of Jamal Khan. None of the 4 Muslim suspects who were falsely accused and detained in the sham terrorist plot paid a higher price or had their lives ruined than the handsome lover of the beautiful maid, Rayhana, and his family members. We need to write 12 chapters to narrate the many tragedies that Jamal Khan's sick mother, 3 sisters, and 6 brothers went through in his absence when he was in prison. But to avoid recounting sad and heartbreaking details, we will try to summarize them in 2 or 3 chapters and move as quickly as possible to the longing of the beautiful Muslim widow, Rayhana, and her desire to travel to the country of petrodollar, where she expects to become rich in her work as a maid in the palace of her wealthy sponsor, the Arab Sugar Daddy. I mean, Rayhana's dreams of becoming a filthy, rich Indian woman like the Indian girl Christy, and then marrying the handsome lover of her life. Jamal's mother was in a government hospital dying of cancer when he was arrested. She was in the final stages of her life when her son ended up in prison on terrorism charges. 3 weeks later, she breathed her last in a filthy public hospital that housed the poor, the so-called Hindu Dalits and other wretches called the Harijans or Untouchables. Jamal has 3 sisters and 6 brothers. All his siblings are younger than him. Their father died 2 years ago due to his addiction to the illegally manufactured local liquor drink Daro. For 7 days, his Muslim wife and 10 children did not leave a hospital or police station in Bombay while they searched for his dead body. He died while drunk and was lying lifeless somewhere in a filthy gutter near the shanties of Andheri railway station. Before they could find his body, Bombay municipal workers burned him to ashes as if he were a dead Hindu. When his Muslim wife and 10 children objected, they were told that the hospital did not know his religious affiliation and, furthermore, that they could not be expected to keep a body until it decomposed. Of course, such an excuse for burning his body was a lie, because his penis showed that he was a circumcised man, and that only Muslim Indians circumcise their males. But the truth is that the hospital Hindu doctors stole many of his organs during the autopsy. These organs were sold to hoax doctors for use in secret surgeries on rich sick Indians or wealthy Arab patients to transplant kidneys or eyes. After his sad end, his eldest son Jamal became the sole breadwinner. He had to feed 10 mouths in addition to his own. His 3 sisters worked with their mother as maids in the homes of rich people, but when they reached puberty, their mother began to prevent them one by one from working. She was afraid that these lustful rich men would rape one of her teenage girls, or trick her into giving her a little money and getting her pregnant with an illegitimate child. Jamal Khan is the eldest, followed by his 3 sisters and then his 6 brothers. The poor in India do not use condoms or any type of birth control. What is added to the population explosion in India is that the majority of destitute Indians have nothing to do for enjoyment or entertainment except having sex. After all, it's free and easy to access. Former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's son, Sanjay Gandhi, had come up with a plan to stop rapid population growth. He promised to pay a few thousand rupees to any Indian man who agreed to receive an injection to permanently sterilize himself. However, his plan was abused by government officials and police officers who forcefully performed vasectomies to meet quotas and, in some cases, sterilized women as well. Officially, men with 2 or more children had to undergo sterilization, but many unmarried young men, political dissidents, the ignorant and the poor were also believed to have been sterilized. As a result, the program was stopped due to numerous cases of violations, catastrophic failure, and the failure to hold those responsible accountable for its incorrect management. After Jamal Khan was arrested, his 3 sisters were forced to return to work in the homes of rich people to help provide food for themselves and their younger siblings. They are young, 13, 14 and 15 years old. The 14-year-old sister became pregnant with someone in one of the homes where she worked. It is illegal in India for a female to get pregnant at this age, but Jamal's sisters are ignorant of their rights. The 13-year-old sister fell in love with a Hindu handsome teenage boy who lived near her hut, with whom she also had sex and became pregnant. When the 15-year-old sister discovered that her 2 sisters became pregnant without the sanctity of Islamic marriage, she beat them and reprimanded them so severely that the sisters fled. What made them run away was that their older sister threatened them that she would go to their brother Jamal in prison and tell him about their shameful adultery and their haram and illegitimate pregnancy. In India, like any other third-world country, honor killing is a common practice, especially among Muslim families. The 2 younger sisters expected that their brother would either break out of prison and kill them for the sake of cleansing the family's honor, or send someone from the Gondas gang to kill them. The pregnant sisters, known as Tahira and Fatima, also found that they had sullied their names and reputations among their poor Indian neighbors and had effectively destroyed the honor of their Muslim family. No one will respect them anymore, and no Muhammadan family will allow their son to marry a Muslim girl who became pregnant outside the framework of permissible Islamic marriage. They also realized that they were now considered whores, and that men and other sexually frustrated thugs would stalk them, force them to have sex with them, or gang rape them whenever they ventured out of their hut and into public places for work. After they escaped, the sisters went to the brothels of the Grand Road neighborhood and joined thousands of other prostitutes on Faris Road. The pimping lady allowed the sisters to stay in her brothel until they gave birth to their so-called haram children. Then, after giving birth, the evil oppressor strangled the newborns to death and turned their mothers into eternal prostitutes. Meanwhile, the 15-year-old sister named Nafisa Khan did not know what to do after her sisters Tahira and Fatima escaped from the hut. She went to her brother Jamal in prison and told him what happened to their sisters and the reason for their escape. Jamal cried bitterly when he learned that his 2 sisters had become pregnant with haram babies and had fled their hut. He blamed his sister for hitting them, scaring them, and causing them to run away from the hut. He also blamed her for allowing them to go and work as maids in the homes of rich people. To avoid any further disaster for the family, Jamal asked his 15-year-old sister to stop going to work as a maid-servant in the homes of wealthy people. Nafisa told Jamal that they would starve to death if she stopped working. They had no money after he went to prison. Jamal was the sole breadwinner for his big family. This is why, as we know, he had to wait 2 years before he could marry his beloved Rehana Khan and be with her as husband and wife. He sacrificed his love and was not an obstacle for her to travel to Saudi Arabia so that she could also support her large family. He told her that after she returned when her 2-year work visa expired, he would marry her and perhaps join her in the rich country. Jamal was aware of the problems that his poor family would face from the day he was arrested and thrown behind bars, but he could not do anything to change the course of the unfortunate events that befell them. He put his trust in God to perform a miracle and provide for his family while he was in prison, and hopes to be released as soon as possible. During his unjust imprisonment, there was no savior for his family, only disaster and destruction. His dying mother died a few weeks after his arrest. His two sisters ran away because they were two minors who had become victims of a corrupt world and an evil society. They became like many other fallen teenage girls who ended up becoming prostitutes. However, Jamal felt he had to do something, even though he was kept under lock and key, behind concrete walls and steel bars. He asked his 15-year-old sister to call his workplace and ask for a loan. His sister called the travel agency and spoke to Mrs. Khan, who is now in charge of the business after her husband Mohammed Khan was also arrested and detained on false terrorism charges. Mrs. Khan refused to extend any credit to the poor Muslim family of her ex-husband's employee. She told Jamal's sister that the project had stalled and that the agency had a huge loan to pay. Then the unjustly detained employee, Jamal Khan, asked his sister to speak to the employees of Mohammed Khan Travel and Tourism Agency and ask them for a donation or soft loan until he could be released from prison. What a pity, none of the employees were willing to donate or lend any money to Jamal's bankrupt family. Finally, when there were no other options available and everywhere they went to save the family members from starvation, the doors were closed in their faces. Brother Jamal allowed his sister to sell their shawl hut and move to another slum area, buying another cheaper small hut. It is worth noting again that in the third world there is no relief program for the needy and the unemployed, such as social welfare in Western countries. Furthermore, there is no such thing as abuse of minor children in the workplace at an early age. Even a 5-year-old child is allowed to work and earn a little money to feed his hungry family. Being an underage girl, Jamal's 15-year-old sister Nafisa sold their shawl hut, but was seriously deceived and betrayed by the woman who bought the hut. As we learned from the visit of his beloved Raihana, the buyer of their cottage was an obese Hindu woman who was ugly in character and morals. She is that fat woman who met the beautiful Raihana Khan at the door of the hut and told her that no Muslims lived with them. But her husband told the visitor that they had bought the hut from the Muslim Khan family. The Hindu wife paid 10 times less than she promised to pay. She deceived Jamal's minor sister and made her sign papers written in English. The 15-year-old Muslim girl seller did not understand anything of what she signed. When she found out that the Hindu woman had cheated on her, she was afraid to go to the police and file a complaint due to fear of being gang-raped by corrupt Hindu policemen. She knew that at a young age, the police would take advantage of her and possibly gang-rape her inside the police station. So, she accepted the small amount offered by the Hindu buyer and moved with her 6 younger siblings to a ridiculously small hut in a slum area. In those overcrowded slums, all the sexually frustrated males and thugs started harassing Jamal's teenage sister because of her attractive beauty and sexy body. She is also an unbelievably beautiful girl, like her handsome brother. She is now living in the shadow of the scandal of her 2 pregnant sisters, who ran away and became prostitutes in Fairs Road. With her also travelled to her new slum shanty the scandal of her 2 sisters who had fallen into prostitution and now sold their thighs to men in the brothels of Bombay Central. Therefore, the uncultured backward males and slum dwellers hover over the pretty teen girl Nafisa Khan day and night like evil spirits that want to possess her and reside inside her body like a haunted house. Every man wants to have sex with her for a little money, or rape her because she has no father, big brother, or any adult male chaperone to protect her. She started fighting with them and screaming for help whenever some of these crooks and useless men came and tried to break into her poor hut and rape her at night. Her 6 brothers are noticeably young, so none of them can protect her if she is raped in front of them. Meanwhile, Jamal's sister followed her brother's advice and stopped going to rich people's homes. The little money that remained after she bought the new poor shack did not last more than 2 months. When the family ran out of food, she had to send her younger siblings to the streets and local railway stations to beg. She managed to get a small job for one of her brothers. It was an unpaid job. He worked in a small tea cafe, and the Muslim shop owner only provided him food in exchange for cleaning the place. He refused to give him money. One of the 5 young brothers who was begging in the streets was hit by a speeding car and died instantly. It was a hit-and-run accident, and no one was able to get the license plate number of the offending vehicle. The brother who was working in the cafe one day disappeared. No one knew whether he was kidnapped by Bombay underworld mafia thugs called Gondas or whether he joined them willingly. Jamal's sister was afraid to go out to look for her brother to find out what happened to him. She was also afraid to go to the police because of the possibility of being gang raped by them. She went to her brother in prison and told him what happened to their 2 younger brothers. One of them was killed by a car, and the other escaped and most likely joined a Muslim gang. The imprisoned brother cried bitterly and began hitting his head on the wall of the visiting room until blood flowed from his head and covered his face. His sister started crying and begged him to stop hurting himself. When Jamal continued to hit his head on the concrete wall, 2 guards came and forcefully pulled him away. Another guard shouted at the sister and chased her away. He told her not to visit her brother again and threatened to throw her behind bars if she returned. Since that day, the sister stopped visiting her brother in prison. Meanwhile, the angry suspect Jamal Khan, who had become strongly suicidal, was placed in a straitjacket due to the high possibility of killing himself. Chapter 27. Putting the final nail in the coffin of the handsome lover. When Jamal Khan came out of prison after 6 months, he found his family in a miserable and completely devastated state. Some of his brothers begged in the streets, and 2 of his sisters escaped from the shawl hut and became regular prostitutes in the notorious brothels of Faris Road near central Bombay. 2 of his brothers ran away and joined the Gundas gang, and his dying mother died of cancer. One of his brothers was killed in a car accident. Only his teenage sister, Nafisa Khan, and 3 of his brothers remained in the new poor hut. Whatever happened to his family in his absence, he knew he could not change it. He just wanted to take care of his only sister left with him and his 3 remaining brothers. He returned to his workplace, but his evil boss, Mr. Muhammad Khan, refused to see him and ordered the janitor to kick him by calling the police on him if he did not leave immediately. Jamal tried to talk to Muhammad Khan again by going to his home in the Juhu neighborhood and begging him, while on his knees in front of his Muslim wife, sons and daughters, to give him his job back. The disgruntled boss reminded Jamal of his secret love affair with the Muslim widow, Raihana Khan. He said to him, "You have committed a serious crime related to a conflict of interest at work. You took advantage of the trust we had placed in you and had a harem sexual relationship with the maid of one of my valued Arab clients. You stabbed me in the back and made my Arab commercial client, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, insult me with obscene words and accuse me of deceit in front of my employees. What would have happened if that Muslim widow had become pregnant by you and we had sent her pregnant with an illegitimate child to her Saudi sponsor? She would be stoned to death in Saudi Arabia because she became pregnant through adultery without a legitimate Muslim husband. Then all the blame would fall on me if she says that her rapist, or the one who committed adultery with her, was an employee of my travel agency." Mr. Muhammad Khan then reminded his former employee Jamal Khan that when he applied to work for him, he signed an employment contract stipulating that he would adhere to certain standards and principles. According to these terms, no employee is allowed to initiate a romantic relationship with a female employee or engage in an intimate sexual relationship with another employee. It is not permissible for any female employee to exploit her position and have an inappropriate love or sexual relationship with a foreign Arab client or an employee with an Indian female client. Muhammad also told Jamal that by having a secret love affair with the maid of his most important Arab client, the company had incurred huge losses. He even informed him that 2 of his employees witnessed him while he was hugging, kissing, and sexually fondling the beautiful Indian maid, Rehana Khan, at the beachfront in Marine Drive. It is true that Mohammed Khan Travel and Tourism Agency has already received a lot of bad publicity after his trial and arrest on terrorism charges, and he has suffered from a lack of trust from many airline agencies to deal with his office anymore. He claimed that because of Jamal's adulterous relationship with the Indian maid, Rehana, his Arab client, the wealthy Saudi man Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed dissolved his partnership with the Mohammed Khan Tourism and Travel Company. After his former boss, Mohammed Khan, lectured him for a long time, he kicked Jamal Khan out of his house as well and told him that if he came back, he would hand him over to the police. However, Jamal Khan did not give up and kept phoning Mohammed Khan's wife and begged her to convince her husband to take him back. Jamal told the Muslim wife what happened to his poor family, which worships Allah and his holy messenger, the infallible prophet of God Muhammad, while he was in prison. Although she is a hard-hearted woman and no less evil than her devilish husband, Mrs. Khan is tired of Jamal's constant pleading and agrees to ask her husband to give him another chance. But she strictly told him not to repeat what he had done before, that is, having a romantic or sexual relationship with a girl at work or a female customer, and that he should never kiss, hug, or have sex with any employee or prospective maidservant of a wealthy Arab client again behind her husband's back. The young Muslim man, Jamal Khan, swore by God, the Kaaba of his sacred house in Mecca, and his noble messenger Muhammad, while placing his right hand on the Holy Quran, that he would abide by the terms and conditions of the job. When Mrs. Khan promised Jamal that she would talk to her husband about getting his job back, Mr. Muhammad Khan happened to be on a 5-day business trip to New Delhi. So she asked Jamal to come back to the office after a week. Her husband would be back by then, and she said she would convince him to rehire him. At that time, her unfaithful husband happened to be in Bangalore City and was enjoying fucking the pussy of another man's wife. The adulterous Hindu woman Sangeeta Dasia. The adulterous husband lied to his Muslim wife and told her that he was going to New Delhi City to meet an important Arab client. Jamal believed Mrs. Khan's promise and waited impatiently for those 7 days to pass. After his release from prison, he spent 5 weeks working various jobs. During those 5 weeks, he worked hard at manual labor, or whatever he could find to provide food for his teenage sister and 3 younger brothers. He even worked as a porter or courier coolie at railway stations, carrying heavy bags of passengers' luggage. The money he earned from portering was truly little compared to what he earned working at the travel agency. That's why he wants to get his lucrative job back by all means. He wants to send his sister and brothers back to school. He also wants to buy another chawl hut in a good neighborhood and provide a better place to live with his family. He knows that the slum huts are not safe for his beautiful teenage sister, Nafisa Khan, especially when she starts going back to school. The slum area is full of unemployed people, constant drunks, thugs, and dangerous gondas. While he was away at work during the day, he was always afraid that his little sister would be gang-raped by useless and illegal male scum. When Mrs. Khan promised that she would talk to her husband about getting his job back, he had a glimmer of hope that perhaps they could overcome their despair and abject poverty. Every waking moment and in his sleep, Jamal counts the minutes and seconds for his boss's return from a business trip so he can return to his decent, lucrative job. Mr. Muhammad Khan has a bad habit of using his employees to spy on each other and report back actions to him. He even uses his agency's janitor or guard to spy on his other employees. Meanwhile, Jamal's problems were escalating without his knowledge, and this time it came through the woman who loves him completely. While he is waiting for Muhammad Khan to return to Bombay and return him to his previous job, as we know, his beautiful girlfriend Rayhana Khan came to spy on the travel agency looking for him, and after everyone left, she approached the doorman and spoke to him. The doorman knew that Jamal Khan had been fired, so he didn't know why he came to the travel agency. He heard from the female employees that Jamal was fired from work because he had a sexual relationship with an Indian female customer. So, when Rayhana Khan came to the office that evening and asked about Jamal Khan, he recognized her. It is also strange to him that this beautiful young Indian woman, because of whom Jamal was fired for having a forbidden love affair with her, also showed up looking for him. As part of his spy duties, the doorman felt it necessary to report the visit of the beautiful young Indian woman to his boss when he returned from his business trip. There was another bump in the road ahead, adding to Jamal's problems. While the evil boss at Bangalore was enjoying his time with another man's wife, thanks to a steady supply of Viagra, another serious problem emerged that was also attributed to Jamal Khan. After being brutally beaten on his genitals during interrogation by the horrific Hindu police detective Shankaracharya, Mr. Muhammad Khan has trouble maintaining an erection without the help of Viagra. As we mentioned earlier, it is true that Muhammad Khan's recruitment business suffered a major loss after Sheikh Ahmed stopped his business dealings with his agency. Before the false terrorist plot, the Saudi sheikh was sending hundreds of work visas to the recruitment agency. The greedy Muhammad Khan was selling the visas to Indians at 10 times the actual amount of those visas. This highly profitable business venture with Sheikh Ahmed was at the core of the success of Muhammad Khan Tours and Travel Agency. When their partnership was broken up due to the beautiful maid Rayhana not being sent to Jeddah City, the travel business suffered huge losses. Muhammad Khan struggled to make ends meet. He tried hard to get new Arab clients, but no one would commit to working with him. When nothing worked for him, he came up with a plan to force Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed to deal only with him. He decided to block his ability to do business in Bombay with anyone other than himself until he came and begged him to accept his visas again. He doesn't want any other agency to benefit from his work. To this end, he is prepared to use intimidation and threats against any travel agency with which his former Saudi client, Sheikh Ahmed, may be tempted to transact. He even decided to take help of the Bombay police and the Muslim Gondas thugs. To successfully carry out his plot, Satan's best friend, Sir Muhammad Khan, kept spies everywhere. He even called some staff at the passport office and Bombay Sahara International Airport. He knew that the wealthy Saudi Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed is perversely infatuated with the beautiful and sexy Indian maidservant woman who lives in the Dharavi slum. So, he speculated that her wealthy sugar daddy might use another travel agency to find Rayhana Khan and fly her back to his country. For this reason, he gave his spies at the passport office and Bombay International Airport the names of the mother, Rayhana Khan, and her daughter, Ifat Khan. He wants to know which Indian agency in Bombay can be used by the lustful old Arab man to prepare travel papers for the slum woman and her daughter. For this reason, the villain Muhammad Khan plans to use some dangerous Muslim thugs to prevent the agency from dealing with his former wealthy Arab client. The first reported case of espionage came from the passport office. While Muhammad Khan was away in Bangalore, one of his spies at the passport office called his agency and left a message. The informant stated that the beautiful Indian Rayhana Khan came accompanied by an employee of the Muhammad Khan agency and applied for the reissuance of her passport and her daughter's passport, Unfortunately, the informant did not mention the name of the employee who was accompanying Rayhana Khan. Immediately after Muhammad Khan returned from his trip, his wife spoke to him and asked him to bring back Jamal Khan as his employee. Somehow she convinced him to return him due to religious and humanitarian grounds. She told him the many tragedies that befell his Muslim family and everything that happened to Jamal's Muslim brothers and sisters while their brother was in prison. Muhammad Khan finally agreed to give Jamal Khan another chance. He told his wife that if Jamal tried to do anything else behind his back, he would not only fire him, but send him to prison forever. When Mr. Muhammad Khan arrived at his office the next day, his janitor told him about the beautiful young Indian woman who came and asked about the fired employee, Jamal Khan. At first, Muhammad Khan did not take the spy information seriously because the doorman of his agency did not tell him the name of the young Indian woman who had come to inquire about Jamal. As soon as he entered his office, checked his phone's answering machine, and heard the report of the operation of the other spy in the passport office, he immediately connected the dots. He called his agency's doorman and asked him to quickly come to his office. When he arrived, he asked him to describe the young Indian woman who came and asked him about Jamal Khan. The spy described the beautiful woman and added that he had seen her before when she came with her young daughter to the travel agency to obtain her travel papers. He also told his boss that he remembered that Jamal Khan was going with that woman to help her do some work. Moreover, he said that he saw her several times in the Bombay Criminal Court during the trial on false terrorism charges. When the doorman described the slum maid Rayhana Khan, Mr. Muhammad Khan almost exploded with anger boiling and flowing inside him. He concluded that Jamal Khan is still in contact with Rayhana Khan and is engaged in the same adulterous love affair with her. Therefore, he believes that Jamal is helping her and her daughter in reissuing their passports. He knows that Jamal knew all the information related to Sheikh Ahmed while working with him at the travel agency. He concluded that the adulterous maidservant Rayhana met her adulterous lover Jamal and obtained Sheikh Ahmed's phone number from him. She then spoke to the old Arab man, her sugar daddy, through her translator Jamal, and somehow managed to convince him to reissue new visas and tickets for her and her daughter. When the lustful Saudi sheikh agreed to resend the visas and tickets, she asked her lover, Jamal Khan, to prepare their travel papers. The outraged boss, Muhammad Khan, quickly jumped to the conclusion that Jamal Khan was the employee who went with Rayhana Khan to the passport office and applied to have the passports reissued for her and her daughter. As a result, when the evil boss came to his conclusion, he picked up his phone, called the police, and reported a serious crime that had occurred at his travel agency. He told the police that he had already reported the crime long ago, but nothing had been done to the culprit. Due to some legal issues he was involved in, he stopped following up to ensure that justice was served. After being released from prison innocently, he decided to follow up on the crime committed by one of his male employees against one of his female employees. The next day, when the poor and pathetic Jamal Khan came to see how to get his lucrative job back, he found the police waiting for him at the travel agency. He was arrested, bound with ropes, and detained on profoundly serious charges of rape and robbery. When the suspect Jamal arrived at the interrogation room and was informed of the charges against him, he vehemently denied them. No matter how much he was beaten and tortured by the police, he refused to acknowledge the false allegations. He knows that the future of his sister and brothers is in his hands, and for these extraordinarily strong reasons, he preferred to be beaten to death rather than confess to the false charges and put their lives in danger. Jamal's insistence on not confessing to the charges against him led the police to further investigate the complaint filed by his former boss against him. The first person the police tried to get and question was the employee who was allegedly raped and robbed by Jamal Khan. Unfortunately, When the police found the slum where the beautiful girl, Bulbula Sheikh, was living while working at the travel agency, they did not find her. The police discovered through her poor Muslim family that she had died 2 months ago. At first, the family refused to reveal the cause of her death. When the police questioned some neighbors, they told them that the cause of her death was suicide. The police then went to the hospital, where her body was taken after she committed suicide. The medical report confirmed her death by suicide. The report stated that Bulbula Sheikh was pregnant at the time of her suicide. In India, society expects a rape victim to kill herself. We will not be distracted and elaborate on this serious side issue of the victim's suicide and continue with the issue of Jamal Khan being unjustly arrested. Based on the medical report, the police concluded that Bulbula Sheikh became pregnant by her rapist, Jamal Khan. Therefore, the Bombay police found sufficient evidence to convict the accused Jamal Khan of rape. During the trial, Mr. Muhammad Khan placed his right hand on the Holy Quran and swore to God that Jamal Khan had stolen money from his agency's treasury and that his employee, the victim, Bulbula Sheikh, while crying with hot tears, confessed to him that Jamal had raped her inside the office when the other employees were out for lunch. He spoke as a pathetic liar and a brutal deceiver, and said in court that he truly felt the need to testify and bring justice to this innocent teenage girl who was no longer able to speak for herself, and may her pure soul rest in peace. As events unfolded in court, a few months later, the suspect Jamal Khan was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to 14 years in prison with hard labor. Chapter 28. The strong-willed underage girl. Jamal's remaining sister out of his 3 sisters called the travel agency after her brother did not return to their poor hut for 5 days. She still has the work phone number her brother gave her while he was in prison. The agency owner, Muhammad Khan, was the one who happened to answer the main line. The teenage sister asked about her brother, and Muhammad Khan told her that her brother had been arrested a few days ago by the Bombay police. He added that Jamal was arrested inside his office and taken out as a notorious criminal prisoner. He did not tell her the specific charges. He then lied to her and falsely claimed that her brother Jamal had some money owed to him that the travel agency was supposed to pay him. The unjust man had already learned from his wife that Jamal only had 1 sister left and that his other 2 teenage sisters had run away from home after becoming pregnant outside of a permissible Islamic marriage. It was Jamal who sadly narrated to Satan's wife the tragedy of his family that had happened while he was in prison. He told her everything and hid nothing from her. The wife also told her husband that Jamal's remaining sister was only 15 years old, so his criminal mind devised an evil satanic plan. Evil is his middle name. His first name is Satan, and his last name is the devil. When the minor girl called and inquired about her missing brother, he told her to come and collect the money owed to her detained brother in exchange for the wages he earned. When Jamal's sister came, the evil man gave her 2,000 rupees and also offered her a good job in his agency. He pretended to be sad for her poor Muslim family, which lost its only breadwinner, Jamal Khan. The sister isn't qualified to work in his company, but he couldn't deny himself the opportunity to poach a teenage girl. For a notorious womanizer like him, it's like catching fish in a barrel, and it's hard to leave fresh feminine meat alone. His tainted conscience will make her give in to his lustful desire with the help of a steady supply of Viagra. As mentioned before, due to the severe beatings he received in prison, he has difficulty maintaining an erection, and thus his pocket is never without his favorite medications. He knows that the sister is a minor, and therefore he should not hire her. Jamal's sister is 15 years and 6 months old. He convinced her to lie to other employees about her age. In India, girls are allowed to work at the age of 16, but there is no specific minimum age for boys. Jamal's sister is called Nafisa Khan. She is also an exceptionally beautiful girl, like her handsome brother, Jamal. She was incredibly happy to have a job in a place where no one would sexually harass her, as she had mistakenly thought. The presence of other female employees at the agency reassured her that she was in a safe work environment. Moreover, every female employee, including her boss, is either a Muslim or a Muslima. As advised by her boss, Nafisa did not tell anyone in the office that she was Jamal Khan's sister and lied about her age and told other female employees that she had just turned 16. Nafisa is afraid to go to prison and meet her detained brother for fear that the police will discover that she is working in a travel agency under legal age. Moreover, she is afraid that the evil Bombay policeman will gang rape her if she says that her brother has been arrested for some serious crimes. It was the devil incarnate Muhammad Khan who said that her brother had been arrested for being involved in serious crimes, but he did not mention to her what those heinous crimes were. After she started working at the agency, her boss called her into his office one day and showed her a local newspaper that referred to the ugly charges against her brother. Nafisa Khan cried hard when she learned that her brother had been arrested and charged with several serious crimes, including rape and robbery. She was particularly angry when she read about his forced rape that caused an innocent young Muslim teenage girl to become pregnant with an illegitimate child. Nafisa began to despise her brother Jamal when she learned that the girl who was pregnant in rape and haram sex, Bulbula Sheikh, killed herself when she discovered that she had become pregnant by her rapist, Jamal Khan. Therefore, Nafisa vowed that she would never visit her evil brother in prison again. The deceitful satanic boss lied to her and falsely claimed that he decided to hire her because she had 3 younger Muslim brothers and had no one to take care of them after their older brother Jamal went behind bars and would most likely be in prison for an exceedingly long time. The unrighteous man of Allah followed the same evil methods he used on his other female employees. He allowed Nafisa to work for him for a few weeks without harassing her or approaching her in any inappropriate way. During this period, the teenage girl loved her job because she was now earning good money. When he saw that she loved her job and the money she earned by proxy, he decided that now was the right time to carry out the evil of his mind. One day, the underage girl Nafisa Khan fell ill and did not come to work. When she came the next day, she brought with her a written medical excuse from a doctor for her absence due to illness. However, the ruthless tyrant began shouting at her and accused her of lying. He understood that this was his good opportunity to intimidate and sexually blackmail her. Then he called her and ordered her to come to his office, closed the door behind her, and began asking her very embarrassing questions that no respectable man would talk to an underage girl in such an inappropriate manner. The evil boss said, "Now tell me, Nafisa, were you really sick? Or did you decide to take a vacation and go meet your boyfriend and have a good time with him on the beach?" Nafisa replied, "I have no boyfriend, sir." "How is it possible that you don't have a lover of your age? I have younger brothers to take care of, and I'm not interested in having a love relationship with a boy of my age." "It's amazing," the evil boss said, feigning astonishment at her response. "Every teenage girl in Bombay your age will have a boyfriend. I fell in love with my Muslim wife when she was 15 and married her when she was 18. However, during those 3 years, until we were married, we enjoyed each other very much in very loving and intimate ways, at the seaside and in hotel rooms." Nafisa does not like to hear the details of the love story her boss tells her. She thought he wasn't supposed to tell her secret things like that. "By the way, can I ask you a personal question?" Before Nafisa could give him permission, the obnoxious snake continued to press his agenda and asked her a very embarrassing question. "Did the cause of your illness have anything to do with your menstrual cycle?" Nafisa remained silent and refused to answer this inappropriate question. When her evil boss repeated his question, she answered him with one word: "No! By the way, When was the last time you had your period? This time, the angry, underage teenage girl Nafisa refused to answer his question even though he repeated it 3 times. To show his concern for her safety, he got up from his chair and came to her, and she felt his snake-like hand slide over her left shoulder. Then he started massaging her back. She immediately removed his hand from her shoulder and said to him angrily, "Please, sir, don't touch me again." Nafisa understood what her boss intended to do. He doesn't care why she was sick the day before. She stood up without his permission, walked towards the office door, and opened it. Then she left his office. She returned to her desk in the employee's office and sat in her chair. The evil boss picked up his mobile phone and dialed the number on her desk phone. Nafisa picked up the phone, and when she heard it was her boss's voice, she slammed down the receiver forcefully and hung up. A few minutes later, the doorman came and told her that the boss was asking her to come into his office. Nafisa found it difficult to tell the doorman in the presence of other female employees that she would not be coming, so she stood up and went back to his office. The sexually predatory crocodile gave her 2 options. Either she would allow him to have sex with her inside his office using a condom after all the employees had gone, or she would lose her job, leave his office, and never return. The strong-willed girl, Nafisa Khan, turned her back to him without thinking and left his office. She returned to her table, grabbed her handbag, and immediately went out the front door into the street and disappeared among the large crowds of passers-by. Every girl working at the agency understood the reason for the departure of the Muslim girl Nafisa, but none of them objected or tried to stand by her and confront her evil boss. Nafisa Khan is an exceptionally intelligent and strong-willed girl. She saved most of her money, which she obtained during her few weeks of work at the Mohammed Khan Travel and Tourism Agency. She did not behave like other female employees who wasted their money buying beautiful clothes and going out in the evenings to the beach and cinemas to have fun with their boyfriends. When her brother went to prison for the first time, her family suffered greatly, which prompted her to allow one of her 2 sisters to work as a maid outside their shelf in the homes of the rich. One of the rich, an evil man, took advantage of her younger sister, raped her and impregnated her. Nafisa was also forced to send her brothers to the streets to beg for a few rupees to feed the family. One of them was killed by a car in the street, and 2 escaped and joined the gangs. When her brother Jamal went to prison for the 2nd time on charges of rape and robbery, she was lucky to get a job with his former employer, Mohammed Khan. She decided to work hard and save money for a rainy day or unexpected expenses. After losing her job, when she walked away from an exceedingly difficult situation where she had to choose between her honor and her job, the brave girl spent 1 month looking for another job. She could not get the same job by working in a travel agency, but she found a job as a sales girl in a large mall on Causeway Street and continued to tell lies about her age. In her new job, she is paid less than she was paid at the Mohammed Khan Travel and Tourism Agency. However, the money she earns is enough to feed her and her 3 siblings. Nafisa continued to work while her 3 brothers went to school. She bought another large shawl hut in a good neighborhood and moved in with her 3 brothers. Looking ahead to the life of the strong-willed, courageous, and exceptionally good-mannered teenage girl, Nafisa Khan remained single and unmarried until her 3 brothers finished school and began working. She did not bother to fall in love with any Indian boy, whether handsome or wealthy. She sacrificed her emotional and entertainment life for the sake of her brother's future. She shared the same spirit of sacrifice with her brother Jamal Khan. Everything that the honorable girl Nafisa Khan did for her family was selfless, except for one fatal mistake on her part. She believed her evil boss Mohammed Khan's lie about love and trust for her brother, whom he falsely and slanderously accused of rape and theft. But Jamal Khan always took care of his family the best he could. When she read in the local newspaper that the victim of rape, the teenage Muslim girl Bulbula Sheikh, had been raped, impregnated by her rapist Jamal Khan, and then killed herself, Nafisa Khan thought the worst of her brother and swore to God, placing her right hand on the book of the Holy Quran, never to speak to him again or see his face. Naturally, the story of her evil boss about the ugly crimes of rape and robbery allegedly committed by her brother seemed convincing because the local newspaper confirmed these false allegations when it presented his picture and the picture of his innocent victim Bulbula Sheikh, and drafted an article in which it described the merits of the crime, the trial, and the pronouncement of the sentence of 14 years with hard labor. Her 3 brothers remaining with her are known as Saif el-Din, Salman, and Irfan Khan. When they finished their studies, grew up and started working, they bought a big house with 4 bedrooms in a good neighborhood and treated their brave, honorable and chaste sister Nafisa Khan as their godmother or holy mother, who raised up them as her own children. Chapter 29. Suicidal death of the rape victim. If Rayhana Khan had known that her secret visit to the Mohammed Tourism and Travel Agency would cost her lover Jamal Khan his freedom and put him behind bars for 14 years, she would never have gone there. If she had known that applying for both passports would have sent her handsome boyfriend to prison as a vicious criminal, she would never have applied for them. If she had predicted that her desire to travel to a rich Arab country would separate her from her handsome lover for many years, she would not have wanted to travel outside her country, even for a second. And if she had expected what awaited her and her young daughter in that rich Arab country where the house of God is, Rayhana would not have wanted to go there at all. But before we move forward to further trace the events of her desire to travel to the rich Arab country to work in the palace of the wealthy old man, Sugar Daddy, we must try to answer the outstanding question that everyone wants to know the answer to. Why did the beautiful girl, Bulbula Sheikh, commit suicide because of a crime she did not commit? We have heard that society in India expects a rape victim to kill herself, but not every girl who becomes pregnant through rape follows this evil custom, which is similar to the Hindu practice of sati, which requires a widow to burn her body along with her husband's corpse as if she was the one who killed him. It is unfortunate that the beautiful, innocent girl, Bulbula, killed herself by burning her body as if she were a Hindu widow. The only difference is that she did not burn the body of her evil rapist, Satan Muhammad Khan, with her. Every person driven by righteous anger might wish that she would come and shoot him to death in his office in front of his other rape victims before killing herself. As we know, the actual culprit and rapist is not the innocent boy Jamal Khan. He is the person who nailed Jamal of the false crime of rape, testified against him in court, and the judge sentenced him to life imprisonment. The evil genius had never raped his victim without using a condom, except with the late beautiful girl, Bulbula Sheikh. He knew that without a condom his victim might become pregnant, and the court would prove, through paternity DNA test, that he was the biological father of the illegitimate child. But on that fateful day, he happened to lose his mind because he drank a lot of alcohol inside his office due to the dirty insults he received from the old Arab man, Sheikh Ahmed, so he forgot to use a condom when he forced his beautiful employee, Bulbula Sheikh, about having to choose between having sex with him as a volunteer or losing her job. As we know, the desperate girl chose to destroy her honor and allowed him to rape her and steal her virginity to prevent her poor family from starving to death. But she never expected that this small moral mistake would cost her poor family dearly, and her life as well. When her rapist was arrested and thrown behind bars for an alleged terrorist plot, his evil wife fired her from work. It was her sister, the ugly employee Jamila, who told her that she had caught her unfaithful husband red-handed with the beautiful girl Bulbula while the two were lying naked on the office floor and having forbidden sex like two animals. But we know that this report is half false and half true. After she was fired from her job, the beautiful Bolbola's life turned into a living hell. She never expected to be fired from her lucrative job after the high price she paid to keep it. After that, she was unable to find any work to support her poor family. Her main problem is that she cannot speak English and does not know how to read and write Hindi. These are the two main languages required to get an office job in Maharashtra state. The Muslim girl, Bolbola Sheikh, had finished the 9th grade by studying in Urdu. Urdu is an Indo-Aryan language spoken mainly in South Asia. It is the official national language of Pakistan. It is spoken jointly by Muslims of Pakistan and India. It is a mixture of Arabic, Persian, and Indian languages, and its speakers use the Arabic alphabet to write it. Bolbola knew that she was not qualified to work at Mohammed Tourism and Travel Company, but her manager hired her because of her amazing beauty and sexy body. While working there, she did nothing because all the office work was done by other girls who could read and write in English and Hindi. For this reason, she knew very well that if she refused her boss's sexual entertainment, she would be fired and go back to working as a maid in the homes of rich people. Without her mother to work with her and protect her, her rich, lustful employers will force her to choose between having sex with them or losing her work as a maid. So instead of being a woman to many men, she chose to be the secret concubine of her boss, Muhammad Khan. Unfortunately, when she was cast out by the wife of the incarnate devil while throwing him into the bottomless pit, the beautiful Bolbola returned to working as a maid in the homes of the wealthy. But before that, she had already realized that she had been impregnated by her boss. She even informed Mr. Muhammad Khan that she was pregnant by him. The evil man told her not to worry about her pregnancy and promised to take her to a Muslim doctor and bribe him to help her abort the illegitimate fetus. Meanwhile, he continued to rape her without using a condom because he knew she was already pregnant. He delayed her abortion because he wanted to enjoy her sexy body for as long as possible without using a condom. He also did not expect to be caught in the alleged suicide terrorist plot. As she expected would happen to her, the beautiful Bolbola was turned into an unpaid sex slave by her Hindu male employers. But what bothered her most was her illegal pregnancy. She was afraid to go to the hospital and ask for an abortion. She was a 15-year-old girl, and it is illegal in India for a minor like her to get pregnant. She wasn't even supposed to be employed by the Devil Firstborn's agency due to her young age. He broke the age limit and hired her for sexual entertainment, as he later did with Jamal Khan's sister, the strong-willed girl with good morals, Nafisa Khan. As we know, the very brave and moral girl Nafisa gave him her middle finger and walked away from his agency when he tried to sexually blackmail her. She refused to compromise her virtue and let him steal her virginity and accepted the option of losing her lucrative job. The beautiful girl, Bolbola Sheikh, searched in confusion for many ways to get rid of her illegitimate pregnancy, but she failed. She even drank some toxic detergent and almost died. She expected that the toxic substance would help her abort the unwanted child. Her family screamed and called their neighbors when they found her lying half dead in their hut. Her neighbors took her to the hospital and her life was saved. The hospital doctor forced her unconscious body to regurgitate the deadly detergent, but the doctor did not know that the patient had done this intentionally. Bolbola wrote in her discharge papers at the hospital that she drank it by mistake at night, thinking it was milk. 2 months after the serious kitchen accident that nearly claimed her life, her big belly due to pregnancy appeared, and all the Muslim men and women around her knew that she had committed adultery and become pregnant with an illegitimate child without a permissible Islamic marriage. Most of her neighbors are Muslims, and for them this is the biggest sin that an unmarried Muslim girl can do. They collectively believed she was selling her thighs for money to the wealthy men she was working for as a maid. Her attempt to get rid of the ill-gotten child by drinking toxic detergent was considered by her Muslim neighbors to be a deliberate suicide attempt on her part. Another serious problem that the beautiful girl Bulbula faced and could not accept easily was the loss of her Muslim lover. Her Indian lover was her cousin, and also handsome. She loved him more than she loved herself. She even got engaged to him when she was 12 years old. He was still a school student, and his parents said they would allow him to marry his beautiful cousin, Bulbula Sheikh, as soon as he finished 12th grade and started working at a lucrative job. Unfortunately, when his parents heard about the scandal of his fiancée's illegitimate pregnancy, they forced him to break off the engagement. At first, the boyfriend did not want to break off his engagement with his beautiful lover because he loved her with all his being. He even refused to believe that his well-behaved fiancée would do this heinous act of committing adultery with another man. But his family challenged him and forced him to take his fiancée, who was accused of adultery, to a Muslim female doctor and conduct a pregnancy test using urine and blood on his Muslim girlfriend's body. But the beloved Bulbula, who became pregnant through voluntary rape with her evil boss, refused to go with him to the female doctor and undergo an examination. What a regret her rejection forced him to break off the engagement and also break up his love affair with her. Immediately, his family found another beautiful-looking Muslim girl and engaged her to their so-called good Muslim boy. The engaged couple quickly got married, and a large Islamic wedding ceremony was held for them, attended by everyone except his ex-girlfriend, Bulbula, and her family. This was too much and difficult to bear for his ex-fiancée. Not only did she lose the love of her life and become pregnant with an illegitimate child, but she was also turned into a whore at the hands of her wealthy, lustful employers. Some wealthy women expelled her from her work as a maid in their homes when they discovered that she was pregnant with an illegitimate child outside the sanctity of Islamic halal marriage. Some of them beat her and kicked her out when they caught her having sex with their unfaithful husbands. When she was 6 months pregnant and no longer able to hide her large belly, the rape victim Bulbula found herself standing at a crossroads. She had to either run away from home and become a prostitute in one of the thousands of brothels in Bombay, as Jamal's 2 minor sisters did, or flee to another city or kill herself. She knew and understood that she would not be able to live where she resided when an illegitimate child was born in the Muslim-dominated town of Mumbai. Every Muslim policeman will force her to have sex with him when he learns that she is whore and gave birth to a child unlawfully without the bond of halal Islamic marriage. Even her male neighbors, other Muslims and thugs, would rape her inside her hut or sometimes in broad daylight. She knew that her old mother would not be able to protect her when these thugs came to rape her at night. Bulbula was an orphan girl who had already lost her father. If her Muslim father were still alive, he would not have hesitated for a single second to slaughter her, just as he slaughters a goat when he learned that she is pregnant with an illegitimate child without the sanctity of permissible Islamic marriage. Her sick old mother might also burn her daughter's body, which has become defiled by scandal and disgrace, but because she is so old and sick, she knows that there will be no one left to feed the family if she kills her daughter. It was her daughter who found a high-paying job and spent a lot of money treating her and paying for her medications while she was dying in a government hospital for the poor. The ex-employee, Bulbula, was earning 10 times what she now earns as a maid for the rich. In her previous job at Muhammad Khan Tourism and Travel Company, she received a monthly salary of 3,000 rupees, but today she does not earn more than 300 rupees per month from her work as a maid from sunrise to sunset. To keep her high-paying job, she allowed an evil drunk like the devil Muhammad Khan to climb on top of her immaculate body, brutally rape her on his office floor, steal her virginity, and make her pregnant with an illegitimate child. After he went to prison, she became a victim of his brutal rape, experiencing the harshest social and religious persecution that a young woman of her age could be exposed to. By then, she had already started being harassed by Muslim males as she walked in the streets. They call her "You are a tawaif," which in Urdu language means a prostitute. Other Muslim neighbors prevented their daughters from speaking to her or communicating with her. Some of her Muslim neighbors and relatives confronted her about her shameful adultery and illegal pregnancy, kicking her out of their huts and telling her never to approach their sacred dwellings again. Many times, some bad Muslim children, instigated by their parents, threw stones, tomatoes, rotten potatoes and spoiled eggs at her as she walked through the narrow lanes of those crowded huts. Some Muslim women threw their dirty washing water on her as she passed through their chawl huts. One Sunday evening, while she was returning from her slave-like work in the homes of the rich, she was attacked by older Muslim boys. These boys decided to rape her between the dark alleys and dirty gutters of their shacks. They grabbed her from behind and started tearing off her black burda, veil, or burqa, like rabid dogs tearing the flesh of a helpless cat. Then they beat her mercilessly, forced her to her knees, and jumped on top of her body. When the pregnant girl Bolbola got over the shock and panicked, she started screaming at the top of her lungs. Some elderly people and many Muslim women heard her screaming for help, so they came out of their huts and shouted at these rapists, chased them away, and saved her from the imminent gang rape. On that day, although she was rescued, some of her rescuers warned her that if she approached their huts again and was attacked and attempted to rape again, none of them would come to her aid, even if 1,000 men raped her. The pregnant girl Bolbola realized with confusion that she would not be able to leave her hut with her large belly on her own without being gang-raped in broad daylight. Because of this, she understood that she had to choose between suicide or running away from home and living a life of permanent prostitution. But she also realized that she would not be able to run away and leave her old sick mother and younger siblings to starve, die, and rot like prey inside their hut. Therefore, she found herself forced to choose one of the two horns of the fierce dilemma. She has no other third alternative. In the end, when all the doors were closed in her face, and she became worse than a religiously and socially rejected Muslim woman or an outcast Hindu girl, the rape victim, Bolbola Sheikh, poured kerosene on her holy body and set her innocent soul on fire. It was in the middle of the night when the pregnant Muslim teenage girl committed suicide. The fire not only burned her pure body, but also burned her small hut. Fortunately, her mother and siblings managed to escape alive, but lost their shelter and became temporarily homeless. The innocent girl survived the suicide for a few hours in the hospital before she took her last breath and handed over her sacred soul to her creator in a dirty health facility in the Muslim-majority town of Mumbra. The fire left her with 80% burns, while she was in pain and wishing to die in the hospital immediately. Later, a male relative working in Abu Dhabi sent a few thousand rupees to the homeless mother of the suicidal girl and helped her rebuild her burnt hut. But before that, some of the brothers and sisters of the victim of rape, the late Bolbola Sheikh, became homeless and beggars on the streets, and some of them joined the gang of Islamic thugs, the Gondas. These thugs turned 2 of her younger sisters into minor prostitutes. The sick mother died a few months after her eldest daughter Bolbola killed herself and burned her fetus in her womb along with her. But as we know, the blame for her horrific suicidal death fell on the head of the handsome, innocent boy, Jamal Khan. The rape victim horribly killed herself while her rapist, the evil man Muhammad Khan, walked out of prison and returned to his tourism and travel agency as if he had done nothing wrong. He was treated as a great Muslim hero and a living martyr by other Muslims when the Bombay Criminal Court declared him not guilty of the false terrorist plot. His other victim, Jamal Khan, was later convicted as a rapist and thief and sentenced by the judge of the Bombay Criminal Court to 14 years with hard labor.